At 0847, the CSS Endurance fired its last torpedo. Commander Yael Vasquez watched it track across the display. Watched it close the distance to the Keth destroyer on the left flank. Watched it connect. The destroyer's shields absorbed it. Held formish, Carpent. Shit, that's it. Her weapons officer said, confirmed, Commander. Forward batteries discharged. Torpedo tubes empty. Secondary arrays burned out at 0831. Point defense at 6%, not relevant at engagement range. She looked at the display. 11 Keth vessels. The engagement had started as 3 ships and had become 11 as reinforcement arrived in waves. As if the Keth sovereignty had decided that whatever the Endurance was protecting was worth escalating for. On the other side of the Endurance was a convoy. 6 civilian transports. Nini to toused people from the Kurasti collapse. Heading for the jump point. 9 minutes left. No weapons. Her chief, engineer, said from his station, shields at 28%. Commander, drive functional. That's what we have. She was quiet for seconds. Her eyes moved across the display. 11 ships, 28% shields. 9 minutes. She said, open a channel to the Keth formation. Her communications officer hesitated just long enough to say something without words. Then, channel open. Commander. Fleet Commander Seth Keth received the channel request and looked at it for 3 full seconds before accepting. The Concordance vessel had been in this engagement for 97 minutes. His tactical AI had projected its destruction since minute 31. He had watched the projection update 9 times. He had watched it be wrong 9 times. Now it was hailing him. He said. A voice came through. Calm. The specific calm of someone who had looked at a situation completely and made peace with what they found. The voice said, Fleet Commander Seth Keth. This is Commander Vasquez of the CSS Endurance. I want to tell you something directly. He said, Go ahead. She said, As of 3 minutes ago, the Endurance has no functional offensive weapons. Forward batteries are discharged. Torpedo tubes are empty. Secondary arrays are burned out. She paused. Point defense is at 6% and is irrelevant at this range. He said nothing. She said, I'm telling you the tactical facts because I think you should make your next decision with complete information. He said, You're telling me you're unarmed. She said, I'm telling you what the situation is. She paused. The Endurance's shields are at 28%. Our drive is functional. We are positioned between your formation and 6 civilian transports, carrying 9,200 people. She paused. The convoy needs approximately 8 minutes to reach the jump point. She paused. I am going to stay in this position for those 8 minutes. He said, You're unarmed. She said, Yes. He said, I have 11 ships. She said, I know. He said, You can't stop us. She said, I know that too. A silence. She said, Fleet Commander. I want to tell you what I am going to do, because I think clarity is more useful than uncertainty right now. She paused. I am going to hold this position. I am going to do it with no weapons. I am going to do it at 28% shields. I am going to do it knowing that you have 11 ships, and that if you order them to fire, I cannot stop them. She paused. I'm going to do it anyway. He said, Why are you telling me this? She said, Because you're about to make a decision. She paused. I want you to make it knowing exactly what you're deciding. Seth Keth closed the channel. He looked at his tactical officer. She looked back at him with the specific expression of someone who understood the situation and did not have a recommendation that she was confident in. He said, Tactical assessment. She said, The Endurance has no offensive capability, confirmed by our sensor sweep during the communication. She paused. 28% shields are not viable against our formation. He paused. At full engagement, destruction is projected in for minutes. He said, "The convoy." She said, 7 minutes and 40 seconds from the jump point. "Sir." He said, "So we destroy the Endurance in for minutes and intercept the convoy before the jump." She said, "Correct, sir. That is the tactical solution." He was quiet. He pulled up the engagement record on his secondary display. 97 minutes. The Endurance had been in this engagement for 97 minutes. When the first 3 Keth ships had arrived, she had engaged at unfavorable odds. When the reinforcement element of For More had arrived, she had adjusted her position and kept fighting. When the second reinforcement element had brought the total to 11, she had kept fighting. She had damaged 4 of his ships. She had burned out her own secondary arrays to keep the rate of fire high enough to matter. She had fired her last torpedo 11 minutes into fighting at 11-1 odds. And then she had called him on the channel and told him exactly what she had left, which was nothing, and said she was going to hold position anyway. He said, "She knows we're going to fire." His tactical officer said, "She said as much, sir." She paused. She said she's doing it anyway. He said, "Why?" His tactical officer said, "Sir," he said, "why is she doing it?" "She has no weapons. She cannot stop us." "She knows she cannot stop us." She said she knows. She paused. "So why is she staying?" His tactical officer said, "The convoy, sir," he said, "we're going to destroy her and take the convoy. Her staying doesn't change that." His tactical officer said, "It changes the time, sir." She paused. "The 4 minutes it takes us to destroy the Endurance is for minutes the convoy has to move." She paused. "She's buying for minutes with her ship." He said, "For minutes isn't enough. The convoy needs 8. His tactical officer said, "No, sir." She paused. "Not on its own." He looked at her. She said, "The Endurance has been transmitting continuously for the past 22 minutes, sir." She paused. Not weapon signatures, not distress. She paused. "Data." He paused. Specifically, she pulled the analysis, specifically, our formation position, our weapon status, our drive signatures, and a continuous log of this engagement. She paused. "The transmission is going to the Concordance's monitoring network." She paused. "Every monitoring station in range has the full record of this engagement in real time." He said, "And?" She said, "And the engagement record shows 11. Keth sovereignty vessels preparing to fire on an unarmed Concordance ship that called us on an open channel and told us it was unarmed." She paused. "In front of every monitoring station in this region." She paused. "In front of the full log that's uploading to the Concordance Council's archive." He was quiet. She said, "She's not buying for minutes with her ship, sir." She paused. "She's buying for minutes with the record of what we do with those for minutes." He looked at the display. The Endurance, 28% shields, no weapons, 90,000 other side of it. The monitoring stations watching, the archive uploading. He thought about what the record said right now, and what the record would say in for minutes if he gave the order. He thought about the next engagement after this one, and the one after that, and the council sessions that would reference this record, and the 17 member species that had been notified of the convoy's evacuation status, and what those 17 species would say when they reviewed the archive of a Keth. Formation firing on an unarmed vessel to intercept civilian evacuees, he thought about for minutes. He thought about 8 minutes. He thought about what the Endurance's commander had said. "I want you to make this decision knowing exactly what you're deciding." She had known he would run this calculation. She had given him the information to run it accurately. He said, "Formation hold." His tactical officer said, "Sir," he said, "hold formation." All vessels, hold position, she said. Sir, the convoy, he said, will reach the jump point in 7 minutes and 30 seconds. Paused. We are going to hold for 7 minutes and 30 seconds. Paused. Then we are going to file an amended engagement report with the Sovereignty's political command and begin the extraction from this region, his tactical officer said. Sir, the convoy will be through, he said. I know. She said, we will have nothing to show for 97 minutes of engagement. He said, we will have a record that shows a Keth formation holding position when an unarmed vessel asked us to. Paused. That is a different record from the other option. He paused. Some records matter more than the engagements they document. He looked at the endurance on his display. He opened the channel. He said, Commander Vasquez, she said, Fleet Commander. He said, formation is holding. A pause. She said, understood. He said, the convoy will be through in 7 minutes. After that, this corridor is going to be very crowded with Sovereignty vessels. Paused. I would recommend the Endurance use those 7 minutes efficiently, she said. We will, he said. Commander, the transmission record you've been building. He paused. It's thorough. She said, I had time. He said, 97 minutes is a long time to build a record, she said. It was the right use of the time. He said, yes. He paused. I believe it was. He closed the channel. 7 minutes later, the convoy was through. The Endurance followed 11 seconds after. Sethketh filed his engagement report that evening. The report was accurate and complete. In the commander's assessment section, he wrote 3 sentences. He wrote, the CSS Endurance engaged our formation for 97 minutes at increasing numerical disadvantage and expended all offensive capability before calling a channel to inform us she was unarmed. He paused. She then held position and transmitted a continuous, real-time record of the engagement to the regional monitoring network. He paused. The decision to hold formation was made on the basis of that record and its projected consequences. He submitted the report. He sat with it for a moment. He thought about a commander who had looked at no weapons and 28% shields, and 9,000 people and a calculation she couldn't win and had found. Iolav d'Adifeka calculation entirely. He thought about what it meant to fight with the record instead of the weapons. He thought she knew I would hold. He thought she built the situation so that holding was the right decision. He thought she did it with no weapons. He closed the report. He went back to his fleet. The corridor behind him was empty. The jump point was cold. The Endurance was somewhere on the other side of it, damaged and spent and intact, carrying a crew that had decided to stay in a corridor with no weapons because the staying itself was the weapon. They had been right.